All right, let's talk about NVIDIA. Today, we're digging into the absolutely incredible story of how this company went from the brink of bankruptcy to becoming the engine at the very heart of the AI revolution. It's quite a ride.
And let's just kick things off with this quote from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. Everyone is talking about AI hype and AI bubble, but he's basically saying, look, from where we're sitting, this isn't just hype, this is a fundamental change in the way the world works, and his company is right in the eye of the storm.
So, that really sets up the big question we're tackling today, right? How on earth did NVIDIA, the company that made our video games look amazing, become the essential must-have foundation for pretty much every major AI model on the planet? The story is just fascinating.
To get that answer, we have to go back, way back to the beginning. And it's a story that doesn't start with some huge success, but with a failure so big it almost sank the whole company.
Yeah, believe it or not, this whole thing began with a near-death experience. Back in 1995, NVIDIA's very first product, the NV1 chip, was a total commercial disaster. They bet on the wrong technology, one that nobody in the industry wanted to use. The market just flat out rejected it, the cash dried up, and they had to lay off more than half their people. They almost didn't make it.
But sometimes it's those massive failures that teach you the most important lessons. And out of the wreckage of that first chip came the single most important piece of hardware in the company's entire history.
And this timeline is just so crucial. They started in '93 with this big vision for 3D graphics. Then they hit that brick wall in '95. But after that critical pivot, wow, they came roaring back. By 1999, they didn't just release another graphics card. Nope, they literally invented a whole new category of processor and gave it a name, the GPU.
So what is a GPU, really? Well, think of it like this. A CPU, the brain of your computer, is like a small team of brilliant surgeons. They can do incredibly complex operations one at a time, very, very fast. A GPU, on the other hand, is like an entire army of construction workers. Each one does a simple job, but together they can do thousands of things all at once. That's parallel processing.
And this was their own definition back in the day, which was a stroke of marketing genius. By calling it a graphics processing unit, they were planting a seed. They were telling the world this wasn't just for making games look pretty. This was a powerful parallel calculator on a single chip, a hint of what was to come.
But here's the thing. Amazing hardware is only ever half the story. To really get why NVIDIA is so dominant today, we have to talk about the software. The software that built them an unbreakable competitive moat.
In 2006, NVIDIA made what you could argue was its most brilliant strategic move ever. They released a software platform called CUDA. And this was the moment they stopped being just a hardware company and started becoming a true computing platform.
And the scale of what they built is just mind-boggling. Today, there are over 500 million, with a B, CUDA-enabled GPUs out there in the world. It's a massive, massive ecosystem.
So, what exactly is CUDA? Well, the easiest way to think about it is like a universal translator. Before CUDA, telling a GPU what to do was super complicated, like a secret language only a few people knew. CUDA created a software layer that let any researcher, any scientist, tap into all that parallel processing power using languages they already knew, like C++ and Python. It completely opened the floodgates.
And this is how they built that incredible moat. An entire generation of AI pioneers built their life's work on top of CUDA. So for a competitor to come along, it's not enough to have a slightly better chip. A developer would have to throw away decades of code, tools, and expertise. The switching costs are just astronomically high. That's a real moat.
So you've got this incredibly powerful parallel hardware, and you've got the software key that unlocks it for all the smartest people in the world. The stage was set for an absolute explosion.
And then, boom, 2012 is when it happened. A neural network called AlexNet just blew away the competition in a huge image recognition contest. And guess what it was running on? NVIDIA GPUs, using CUDA. That was the moment. It was the definitive proof that this combination was the future of AI. The starting gun for the modern AI era had just been fired.
And if you want to see the result of that AI explosion, well, just look at this chart. It's wild. The data center business, which is basically all AI chips, is now almost 90% of their entire revenue. And gaming, their original reason for being, it's now less than 10%. The company has completely transformed.
So let's just be crystal clear on this. At its core, NVIDIA is not a gaming company anymore. It is an AI infrastructure company. They are selling the picks and shovels in the middle of an AI gold rush.
Okay, so if NVIDIA has become the engine for this new digital world of AI, what's next? Well, the next frontier seems to be about taking all that digital brainpower and applying it back to the physical world. And it starts by building perfect virtual copies of it first.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from a board member at BMW says it all. They're using NVIDIA's technology to build something called a digital twin, a perfect, physically accurate simulation of their factories before they even pour the concrete.
So here's how this works. First, they build this perfect virtual factory. Then, they can simulate absolutely everything, how the robots move, where the supply lines go, to find the perfect, most efficient design. They can even use this virtual world to train their real-world AIs. Only after they've perfected it digitally do they go and build it in the real world.
And the payoff here is just huge. BMW is projecting a 30% savings in planning alone. They catch costly mistakes before they happen. Their teams from all over the world can all work together inside the same virtual space, and they can launch new cars more efficiently. This is what it looks like when AI gets applied to heavy industry.
Which really brings us to the final big thought. When you look at the whole story, it's a journey from making virtual worlds for fun, to building the brains for artificial intelligence, and now using that intelligence to design and optimize our physical world. So if AI really is the next industrial revolution, you gotta ask, is this the company that's building its engine?